Finally, Vancouver is getting what every major Canadian city ought to have, an intimate Revue theatre. I'm sitting right now in its foyer, waiting for the show to begin. Unfortunately, artistic director Bill Millard tells me I've got a bit of a wait. They're not planning on an opening until New Year's Eve. There are still some minor renovations to be completed. As you can see over here is the new orchestra pit. However, when it is finished, the Arts Club Revue Theatre promises new opportunities for musical theatre performers and writers in Vancouver, and I'll drink to that. We're talking now to Bill Millard, the artistic and managing director of the Arts Club Theatre. Do you have any kind of specific plans for the opening?
Well, I always felt that the reason behind the Revue Theatre, at least why I was interested in building a space like this, was because of the performers in Vancouver, because I think there's some excellent Revue performers, who do musicals, musical comedies, musical evenings. And I would like to involve some of them. I've been talking to Leon Bibb and Ruth Nicol, people like that. I think during the first season, Pat Rose and Diane Stapley will probably come back. And I've been talking to, Andy Rhodes, Simon Webb, and Alec Willows, who did Maple Leafs Forever for us a few years ago. So these are the kind of people that I'd like to see perform in the first season.
How will this theatre differ from the Seymour Street Arts Club?
Well, first of all, physically, the theatre is tables and chairs, much like we're sitting at now. And you'll be able to have refreshments in the theatre space. Now, at Seymour Street, although it's the same size, it seats 200, as will the Revue Theatre. You cannot take a drink into the theatre. You don't sit at tables and chairs. You sit at regular theatre seats. That's the first thing. And then I think the programming. We do plays, basically, like a Talking Dirty. That's what we do at Seymour Street. And the material that we'll be presenting the Revue Theatre will be largely musical in form.
You did have the cabaret set up in the Arts Club for a little while, didn't you?
Yeah, we set it up for 6 months, a couple of years back. That's when we did Maple Leafs Forever, and we did a number of different shows in there. And it was partly because it worked so well that we decided to proceed with the project. I have long, ever since we did Jacques Brel, back 10 years ago, have thought that there should be a sort of Revue theatre space in this city. And it's taken that long to sort of, have it become close to a reality. It isn't a reality yet. But we thought we should experiment with it, And
why did you take the tables out of Seymour Street?
Well, we learned what we wanted in the 6 months. We learned that it works and it was a viable, idea. And we wanted to get on with doing, the kind of plays that I feel are best suited to Seymour, which are plays like Talking Dirty or On Golden Pond or, works of varying nature. But I didn't want it to just become a musical house.
I suppose the tables would reduce the capacity anyway in there.
Somewhat. It reduced it a little bit. It's not quite as large, right?
How did the Arts Club start?
Well, it started at Seymour Street. That's the original building. And it was, first of all, a club, as the name says, Arts Club. It was a private club for artists. Mainly, the early members were people like architects. The Vancouver Art Gallery at that time was not nearly the sort of going concern it is today. So there really wasn't a place for artists to meet and discuss. And in the early days in the club itself, they had readings and play readings, they had slideshows, little musical events. They had many different things that took place. Anyways, a member of the board of the Arts Club at that time was a wonderful woman called Yvonne Firkins. And when they moved they were originally on Pender Street. And when they moved to the building on Seymour, she realized there was this upstairs space that had been a car showroom or something like that. Anyway, she went upstairs and she decided it would be a wonderful space for a theater. And she was enamored with the idea of theater in the round. Because you could set up chairs and you didn't have to have very much scenery. You just had the chairs surrounding an acting space. So they went out and bought a few stacking chairs and they put $10,000, I think, was all they managed to raise among the members. And they started the theater, and that's basically how it started. And her format in the early days was a mixture of commercial comedies, Broadway or West End comedies, with an interspersion of a serious drama. In fact, the Seymour Street Arts Club did one of the first productions of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in Canada. And that's how it started. And they did very limited runs of 2 or 3 weeks. And it was professional right from the beginning. And rented it on occasion. Different groups had rented the space over the years, including the Playhouse Theatre, which had their stage 2 there for a number of years.
Back to the Revue Theatre. You will be developing original writers for that as well. Where do you think you will find them?
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm interested in people like Simon Webb and Alec Willows, who wrote and, as well as performed Maple Leafs Forever. I think they're very original talents, and I know that they have a number of shows up their sleeve that I certainly would like to see. But I think review writers are in short supply in this city. One of the reasons is there's nowhere for them to show their material, or there's nothing. I mean, it's very difficult to gamble on a big-size musical, because musicals are so expensive. It's one thing to do a play like Talking Dirty with 5 actors. It's quite another thing to do a musical which requires, professional musicians and usually a cast in excess of 10 or 12. So I think this is a good opportunity for musical writers to get some exposure. And I know yourself, you've written material, and I think, this is a venue where you can at least, at reasonably, inexpensively expect some of your stuff to be tried out. Or Bruce Kellett has written, Bruce Riddell writes music. There's a number of writers, and there's probably a lot more writers that I don't even know about, who will be able to, hopefully, be able to showcase their work.
With the construction strike now settled, this old warehouse is gradually being transformed into a new Revue Theatre for the Arts Club, who are hoping to have it completed in time for a New Year's Eve opening. I'm Mel Atke for Metro Magazine.